Hello everybody, Daniel here. This is a video response to the Pokemon of the Week series done on Planet Poke, the channel. And I thought rather than just criticise, hopefully constructively, in a bid to try to help, I thought I'd show literally with a video how to sort of do it more than anything else. And the Pokemon I picked pretty much at random, but I wanted to pick something that at least was reasonably well used just as a casing point, is Vaporeon. As a bit of a history lesson, it has pretty much always been OU aside from Kanto in the first generation. Since the first generation past that point, it has always been in the top tier, and mainly because if you look at its base stats, it has a lot going for it. It has a base 130 HP combined with a 95 special defense. So obviously this means that on the special front it can take a very strong array of hits. Combined with that, the fact it is a water type, and water types generally make very good defensive Pokemon because they only have two weaknesses type-wise, to electric and to grass. They have no quad weakness in this case because Vaporeon is a single water type only. And it has two abilities that really help it as well in this cause to be defensive, with Water Absorb making switching in a lot easier, the fact that you can switch into any water type move and heal instantly, or alternatively, you can have Hydration, which basically removes all status effects that Vaporeon has when it's in the rain. So obviously you can see quite a lot of uses for that. I'm going to do a set specifically around making use of that for you in a minute. So if I go on to the first of three sets that I have come up with, this is the very, very generic set that you see a lot of. If you play competitively, you will probably see sets of this variant very frequently. The IVs I have placed there with the yellow box because that is the IVs you would need for Hidden Power Electric. And quickly to explain how this set works, basically you're switching on anything that's not going to set up on you, and you use Wish pretty much immediately with the ambition of either healing, so for example a sweeper in your team that has seen better days or requires a safer switch in. Alternatively, you can use Wish to heal yourself by using Protect the second turn. Alternatively, you can use Wish the first turn, predict a switch and try and get a burn with Scald on your second turn. Or if your team that you have set up has a specific weakness, the fourth move slot is very handy for you. Whether you have a weakness, for example, because likely, you're going to be in the OU tier here. If you have a problem with Dragonites or Salamences, catching them on the switch with Ice Beam is very handy, especially with regards to getting rid of Dragonite's multi-scale effect. With a special mention there simply because you can actually quite frequently one-hit KO Salamence using this set. Toxic is very useful if you end up in a wall versus wall issue. Roar is also very helpful if something does try and stat up on you and it really goes out of control. I would not recommend using Roar if, for example, the Pokemon in question is a Raikou or a Raikou. You're more likely trying to just get out of the way there because it's going to hurt. Hidden Power Electric is in particular for Gyarados, which is a Pokemon which will ruin your day most of the time. The EVs, you may wonder why maybe you've got 4 or 8 EVs in speed. The reason being is that outspeeding Scizor is very, very handy. You have the exact same base speed as Scizor, having base 65. And as that is one of the most common Pokemon in OU, outspeeding it is indeed very useful. The second set, voila, is a Baton Pass. Now, obviously, Shell Smash and Baton Pass together are illegal, but luckily, obviously, Vaporeon does not suffer from this issue. Baton Pass will switch away with the Pokemon all its stat changes, and the ideal things to use if you're Vaporeon is either Acid Armor, mainly because its special defense is already very handy, and boosting its defense as a result makes it very strong on both fronts. Alternatively, you might want to switch a substitute, maybe because the Pokemon you're switching to perhaps uses Focus Punch, or is just incredibly frail. For example, switching it to, I don't know, maybe a Gengar as an example, because that's a very common OU Pokemon that's very, very fragile, is incredibly handy. Having Wish on a set with Baton Pass obviously makes incredible sense, as this has great synergy with Substitute, as it means you can slowly whittle the opponent down with his PP, because PP stalling is a very common thing in OU, with all the stall teams that loiter in there. albeit in 5th gen that's a bit less common because offense has become slightly more prominent over defense. But your best port of call I would recommend is to use Scald over Wish, mainly because if you don't, you are massive taunt bait. If you don't have a single attack, obviously taunt is going to ruin your day. So I would have at least one attack on it, and if you're going to ask me personally, I would put something else on your team that maybe has Wish. There are a few users of Wish in OU, so don't feel like you've got too many option issues. I mean, for example, Dratch is in there. All the evolutions can use Wish, so you know the underused Umbreon you can potentially try and use and overused. If you're very ballsy, you could use Jolteon, but I would not recommend it. It's better for sweeping purposes. Or you could use something like the UU Togekiss. That again learns Wish. You've got a fair many options going on there, so don't worry too much. Water Absorb, as with the first set, is your best choice because it means setting up is a lot easier. The third set goes with Hydration because I wanted to prove that there was a set that you could run this with. And the best way, and frankly the only way you can stat up on the offensive front with Vaporeon is to use Work Up. Now Work Up increases special and physical attack. The latter is not very useful with a base 65 attack and a shocking physical move pool, so don't worry about that one. Work Up coupled with Rest means you can stat up and basically regain all your health back and not worry about it. You have to make sure rain is set up, however, for this to work. If it is not raining, using rest means you'll have 2 obligatory turns of sleep, which obviously is not going to help your case, because you will either get set up on or destroyed by a fair few electrics that roam the OU tier. Your choice of attack moves, you have to use a stab move. I mean, water is a good stab type by itself. It's a good type full stop. But as Vaporeon is purely water, you want to use a stab move. Your choice of move, you could use Scald, you could use Surf. The reason I've not put that is because really it's a bad compromise between the first two. Scald has less power but more accuracy and the 30% chance to burn. So if you think you're only going to get maybe 1 or 2 workups up, and you don't feel like you're going to get many KOs anyway, going for burn potential is very handy. You do have to be careful, however, that you don't burn, for example, a Conkeldurr, because obviously that with Guts will absolutely ruin your day. Alternatively, you could go with Hydro Pump. The issues attached to this being that it has 80% accuracy, and there is the issue that it has only 8 PP at maximum. So you obviously can't do a huge ton of sweeping. But if you could ask me personally what's better, I'd say, other than what balance out for your team, I would generally say the latter is more handy. The fourth move is coverage, again based upon what your team needs and what tends to stop you in your tracks. If Mence, Dragonite, Latios ruin your day, then going for Ice Beam is the best plan, although Shadow Ball will hit the latter two super effective as well. You have 2 choices of hidden powers. The green IV box for Hidden Power Grass, the yellow box for Hidden Power Electric. That again depends on what you are completely weak to. If you're having issues with things like Quagsire and Pert and really feel the need to be able to kill it in one hit, and you have a problem potentially with keeping rain up all the time, that is the good choice. If you have Gyarados issues, Hidden Power Electric is your best friend, and Water Electric combined is a pretty good type coverage. But if you were to ask me personally, I would most of the time be using Ice Beam. The only reason I've put other options up is because water and ice as coverage mean you are completely stuck against other water types. Pure waters in particular are going to cause you big problems. So I would recommend, seeing what works best with your team to see if you could fit this set in. I appreciate the fact you've listened to the video. Give constructive criticism if you think it's been good, bad or ugly. And I will say peace out. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the video you've just seen, please join my Facebook group and follow me on Twitter for the latest news.